What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're back working on the white truck. We got this thing running, all back together, running. It's running very good, very smooth. The last video, so go check that out. I'll have that linked up in the corner. So today what I want to do is a little bit different of a video. Instead of doing just a bunch of crap to the truck, I want to kind of go in depth on a little bit of fabrication stuff. So yeah, it's something very simple, like a battery box that I'm going to be building today. But I figured it could help you guys out building stuff with very simple tools. So my tools I'm going to be using is this cheap little Harbor Freight bandsaw. You can get those for 200 bucks, brand new. I got a little chop saw right there. I paid like 50 bucks for that thing. And then obviously measuring tools and grinders and that sort of thing. And I'm going to be making out of this 1/8 inch plate that I had from when I built my flatbed. So we're going to cut this steel up and make something kind of cool for a battery box. And I've also had about 1 million questions about this saw. I know you guys saw me use it when I built the flatbed for the red truck. And everybody asked what this thing is. So this is a Eastwood mini metal saw is what it's called. And this is the Eastwood blade that they give you with it. And it's just a carbide tipped blade, I believe. It actually works really good. I cut literally everything from my flatbed out of this sheet, and it worked very, very well. So happy with it so far. I still am on the first blade. I bought two, and I'm still on the original blade. So we're going to use that. I'll show you how fast and easy that is compared to, you know, a cutoff wheel. Obviously, you can do this a lot faster with, you know, expensive tools like a plasma cutter or whatever, but we're not doing that. We're doing simple tools, and simple tools is what I have. So that's what we're doing. So here's the battery. So what I'm going to start, I think, is make the bottom tray for it, and then we'll figure out how to mount that onto the actual body of the truck. And then I haven't decided if I'm just going to do like a crossbar on top or kind of make it kind of like this style here. This is a Trail Gear battery box I bought for this truck, but I may do something like that. So we'll see what happens. Let's get started and build that bottom, basically the bottom mount to hold the battery. So I got the bottom marked out here. So if you've ever used a skill saw for wood, this is essentially the same exact thing. It works the same way, except you're cutting metal. So I just clamp it on to the sawhorses just to make sure it doesn't move around. Make sure you wear your protection, and we'll get cutting. Alright guys, got this thing marked out. So I actually cut it longer than the width of the battery because I want to bend these sides up to kind of keep the battery in there, and then it'll have sides coming up this way too. So without a metal brake, something to bend this stuff, what I've done in the past is just take my cutoff wheel and score the line. You don't want to go maybe just like halfway through, and then you can stick it in the vise and bend it pretty easy that way. And then you can either weld it or something like this. You'd probably be just fine not even welding it. So we'll see. We'll score it, bend it, see how strong it is, and then we'll figure out what else we need to do to get it mounted up in the engine bay. There it is, guys. So you can see I made it a little bit wider than the actual battery, just because this is a pretty small battery, and if you ever want to put a bigger battery in it, like something I have in the truck, a really good Deca or a Optima, I wanted to make it fit that too. So that's why I went a little bit wider. And I also bent, and I also left those score lines to bend it on the outside, because I figured might as well just weld it up. So let's get this in the truck and see how it fits. All right, that's about where I want it right there. So I think what I'm gonna do on this side is weld a piece down 90 degrees from the bottom of that tray, and we'll bolt it through the side of here, and then we'll bolt it over here as well. But there's that bolt right there for the inner fender brace, and I don't want to take that out, so we're gonna have to raise it up just a little bit. So I'm gonna get a piece cut and tacked onto here that we can run down here and bolt it. Alright guys, so you saw what I just did. I drilled holes through here and then on the body where I want to actually mount this thing. So what I'm going to do is weld these bolts underneath. A good way to get these bolts all lined up is I drilled a hole in that plate, basically the same diameter as that Allen. So when I weld these in, all I got to do is take my Allen or my drill bit, stick it through, get this lined up like that, tack it on, and we're lined up 100%. So I'm gonna get these tacked on there, and I wanted to you have to raise it a little bit. That's why I'm leaving that head on it, because there is that bolt that we're gonna keep for the inner fender brace in that tray. So that's why I'm leaving that bolt on. So I got one there, one bolt there, and then two bolts there. That should be plenty to hold a battery in there. Alright guys, there it is. So I just went through and sanded out all the outside corners just so they're nice and smooth. So coming along pretty good. And also welded the inside of these just to give it a little more strength. So the last thing we got to do is just drill holes for the top here, and then I'll just weld some nuts on the bottom side. Alright guys, there we go. Nuts are welded on. So now we'll just give it a quick sandblast, throw some paint on it, and we'll be done. There it is, guys, all bolted up. Very, very happy with how that turned out. Looks good. Definitely holds the battery in tight. That thing is not moving, so very happy with how this thing turned out. So as you guys can tell, you can build cool stuff with basic tools. And if you're interested in that Eastwood mini saw, go check it out. I'll have it linked in the description. That thing is like $100. And if you're cutting any plate, I've actually cut 1/4 inch plate with it and it works flawless. So if you're cutting any plate, any amount anyway, it makes a huge difference in time. And the nice thing about that saw is it's an actual blade and not an abrasive wheel, where like a cutoff wheel, you're grinding and grinding and grinding. It's not necessarily cutting it, it's more or less grinding it, and it causes a big mess. That thing doesn't make as big of a mess. Yeah, it still makes obviously a mess, but not as big, and it doesn't release that fumes, all that crap coming out of the metal from burning it. When you're done cutting with that Eastwood saw, you can touch the metal and it's not even warm. So it's a huge time saver and a lot more convenient too. So I hope this video helps you guys out. If you're into fabrication, getting started, you can do it with simple tools. You don't need to go spend a bunch of money. I didn't even use my bandsaw or my chop saw. I used a grinder, a cutoff wheel, and that Eastwood saw, and obviously a welder. So very easy tools to get, not that expensive. I guess a welder is a little bit more expensive, but you can use it on, if you're building anything, you're gonna need a welder eventually, so you might as well go pick one up. And I'll actually have my welder linked down below if you wanna check that one out too. It's a Hobart 210 MVP, a very nice welder for actually a decent price. It's a 220 volt, but they have an adapter where you can actually run it on 110 as well. So that is very nice if you don't have a 220 outlet. So I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go smash that thumbs up button, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.